me tell you a story. Your alarm goes off, you get up in the morning, you're meant to quickly have something to drink, put on some clothes and go to the gym to start working out. But as soon as you get out of bed, you feel like, no, I'm not feeling okay, or I don't feel like going to the gym today. Maybe I'll just skip today and go to the gym tomorrow. And then your phone dings. You pick your phone up, have a look. There's a bunch of social media posts on your favorite platform. So you decide to scroll through it. Before you know it, half an hour, 40 minutes have already gone. And then you realize, oh, I need to get ready and head out to work. So you get ready, get dressed, get in the car and head to work. You manage to get through the traffic. You arrive to work about 10-15 minutes late. You then sit in front of your desk. There's a bunch of tasks which you need to do, and you start working through them. Then your favorite person comes along, your buddy in office comes along and says, hey, you want to grab a coffee? So you get up, stop the work you're doing, you go with that person, maybe go out to a cafe nearby, have a coffee, have a little bit of a chit chat. Before you know it, half an hour, 40 minutes have already gone. You come back and you're like, oh, I have all this work to do. So you start working through it, and before you know it, it's lunchtime. So you put that aside, go out for lunch, come back, and you start working again. And now you're quite behind in this task, and you're like, and then your social media goes off again. You start scrolling again, start going through the posts, and before you know it, you're towards the end of the day, and you decide, I'm not going to get this work done today, and I'm going to put this back and I'll get to it tomorrow. If you're any one of these people, I know this story will resonate with you. And in today's episode, I am going to talk about why we as human beings tend to put things back or delay things and procrastinate and not get the work we need to get done within the day. There's a fundamental few reasons why this happens, and I'm going to make you understand why this happens and what we can do to take control of this situation and improve our lives. I hope you enjoy today's episode. Welcome to Motivation Unleashed. So, why do we procrastinate and delay things? Why do we not try and complete the task at hand? Well, there's a couple of reasons for this. The first thing being that sometimes you just don't feel like you have the motivation, especially if the task you're trying to do or the task which is at hand is unpleasant, right? So in my story to you before, I spoke about how this person had to go in the morning and go to the gym for a workout. It's not the easiest thing to get up in the morning and, get out of bed, put some clothes on and maybe do a short drive to the gym and actually go through that process, right? It doesn't make you feel pleasant. It is sometimes a challenging experience, especially when you have to lift weights or go through that exercise process. It's an unpleasant feeling. So people, because you feel that you are not looking forward to that experience, you tend to put it behind or delay that whole process. The other thing would be, sometimes people have low self-confidence and they have this fear of being judged. And even if I go back to my story again and talk about, you sometimes people go to the gym and they start a workout, but they're looking around and wondering if is anyone looking at me? Am I being judged as I'm working through this? Am I doing this wrong? So that fear of being judged by people around you, that also tends to have an impact as to why people tend to push tasks back or just delay things. The other thing is that it could be your own negative thoughts. You might be thinking, I've been going to the gym for a week or two and I no longer feel like I'm not getting any results, or I don't think this is going to help me. So especially if you're the kind of person who's always stuck in that negative mental loop, it's it's not good. So you again, you go through that whole negative mindset and you feel like, you know what, I don't want to do this today. So that also does contribute as to why people tend to delay things. The other thing is fear of failure, and this is a big one, because sometimes people just feel like, oh, if I fail, the whole world is going to judge me. If I fail, people are going to laugh at me. They're not going to take me seriously anymore. So this also tends to be a reason as to why people do push things back and not wanting to do things. The other thing is that sometimes it could be like you're a perfectionist and you want everything to be perfect before you start anything or start a task. And this is especially true. Let's say, for an example, you are thinking about starting this business and you've been thinking about it for the longest time, and you might be spending so much of time on the trivial things like creating a logo. I want the logo to be perfect. Or you're trying to create a website and you want the website to be perfect, and then you want the content of the website to be perfect. You're doing all these things and trying to spending so much time on the little nitty gritties and try to make everything perfect that the actual business never ends up getting off the ground. So being a perfectionist also is not a good thing, not always. The other biggest thing is distractions. In my story to you before, I was speaking about how the phone kept dinging, and you pick up your phone and you're scrolling through your social media, and before you know it, half an hour, 1 hour, 40 minutes is gone. This is a fundamental problem, especially in the modern society. For the modern generation, it's the distractions are such a challenge. Like, you might get up thinking, I'm going to get this work done, and your phone goes off, and then you're scrolling through your social media before you know it, right? These apps and these things are designed to actually grab your attention, so it really does not help you in the long run. And with social media and with all these things which are being pushed to us comes instant gratification. People tend to procrastinate, and especially if the task you're doing is the result of the task you're doing is long term and you won't see immediate results, you won't find the motivation to do it, because sadly we live in a world which is full of instant gratifications. So what is the biggest impact to your life of doing this? You delaying the things which you're meant to do today, and you keep pushing it back to the next day or the next day or the next day. Most people don't realize this, but that there's such a deep negative impact which results from this. And I really want to make you understand this. So if you don't listen to anything on this episode, please listen to this bit, because it'll really open your eyes. The first thing is that it lowers your chance of achieving things in life. So what do I mean by that? So in my story before to you, I was talking about how this person goes to office and, working through things, and you just put it aside and you get distracted, or you end up doing something different, and before you know it, the day is gone and you have to push it back, right? So what does this do? So eventually when that person finishes that task, in my story, it's most likely going to be a rush job, because it would go on till the last minute, and people tend to do this, especially people who procrastinate end up doing things at the last minute. And what's going to happen is that the quality of that work he's presenting to his manager or the board or whoever is going to be pretty low in standard, right? Because it's a rush job. And that it kind of makes you not look that good, because your manager or your colleagues will see he's not really done a good job with this, right? So they'll consider you to be someone who cannot be relied on to get some really good work done, or some work done on time, right? So this lowers your chance of achieving things in your personal life, achieving things in your job, your career. So there's an adverse impact there. The other thing is that which is also, especially when it comes to that work example, it really hinders your chance for career development. Because if you always procrastinate and you're not doing things which you're meant to be doing in your job role, and you keep pushing it back, you keep delaying things, the quality of your work is pretty shoddy, This is going to make people realize eventually that this guy is not really reliable, right? And any career opportunities which are there, you're not going to be the one who's given that opportunity, because you're going to be that guy who's not really reliable, right? Or not known for doing the best work. So it really does hinder your chances in that aspect. The other thing is that because you're constantly delaying things, and I'm going back to the work example here, you'll be dealing with a lot of stress because you're always rushing. You're always, you're not planning your things ahead of time and trying to get things done before deadlines, right? So you'll always be rushing, always trying to get things done, and this can result in a lot of stress for you, which can have other impacts to your health, and it could even result in a burnout because you're constantly working, just trying to keep your nose above water. So this is not a good place to be in. And procrastination and delaying things, it can also flow down to your relationships, to your friends, to your wife. I mean, if you're meant to get something down around the house done and you keep delaying it, maybe it's that broken air conditioner or that broken car lock. You're meant to get it done, but you just keep pushing it back, pushing it back, pushing it back. Or it could be for your friends. You're meant to help your friend out with something and you never get to it, right? So then it strains your relationships with those people, right? So and they don't see you in a positive way, and it really, you might end up not having a lot of people around you because they think, if I tell this guy to do something, he's never going to help me, or he never gets it done. He says he'll do it, but he never gets it done. So it's not really a good way, and I don't think any of us want to be seen to the outside world as that guy, right? There's also the own personal impact, because you end up dealing with this guilt and stress because you feel like, I'm trying to do all these things, but for some reason I just can't seem to get it done. And you might even feel a sense of guilt if you keep pushing it back. I mean, again, if I go to that gym example, it's a perfect case for this, because you'll feel like, oh, I pushed that workout back, and then later in the day you might start feeling guilty, like, oh, why did I do it? I should have gone and done it. It's and that contributes to that whole negative feelings you have, right? Because you're always putting things off. The other thing is missed opportunities. So I was talking to you before about how sometimes being a perfectionist also contributes to procrastination. And if you take forever, if I go back to my business example, if you take forever to start your business because we are working on trying to make every little thing perfect, you might never get started. And a competitor of yours might start off before you and might get traction, and they might go ahead by leaps and bounds because they were first to the races. So there's always, and this is the same thing again, this relates to your career as well, like it's missed opportunities. You will miss your opportunity, because all of us, whatever we are doing in life, there's a window of opportunity, and if you do not capitalize it, or if you do not grab it at that point, or make use of it at that point, that opportunity is going to be lost for you, right? So understand that procrastination has all this string of negative impacts, and the other thing is that negative impacts, or all these negative things because of procrastination, tends to compound over time. And before you know it, these will compound and compound and compound, and you'll come to a point where you feel like your life is an absolute disaster because you're not able to get anywhere, or you'll just feel like I'm just aimlessly floating through my life and I'm not really getting anywhere. So be mindful of this. Procrastination or delaying things or putting things off has such a negative impact to your life, both in the short term as well as the long term. So one of the most important things I've seen in my life and my career is that the key differentiator between people who are successful and people who are average is the fact that successful people do not procrastinate. And don't get me wrong here. I mean, I'm not saying that successful people or people who achieve things are something special, right? But what they've done is they've simply identified methods, or they've identified tools to overcome procrastination. I mean, they procrastinate as much as anyone, but they've come up with tricks. They're proactive in trying to get over that situation, right? So they try to recognize. Let's say you have to set an alarm in the morning, and I'll give you a little example. So let's say they set an alarm in the morning, and they need to go to the gym, right? So they might figure out that every time the alarm goes off, they hit the snooze button and they go back to sleep, and they end up not going to the gym or getting late to go to the gym. So what would they do? They might take that alarm and just keep it somewhere out of reach where you can't hit the snooze button from the bed. They might keep it on a shelf so that the alarm keeps going on off and off and off, and eventually they have to get out of bed to turn the damn thing off, right? So that's like a very simple example of what you can do. So successful people tend to be very proactive in this when it comes to dealing with procrastination. They'll also tend to use different kind of tools, right? Like they might create to-do lists, they might have calendar reminders, and various other management techniques in order to make sure that whatever that needs to be done today, they get it done today, right? So it also comes to self-discipline. You need to, and these people really work hard towards building up that self-discipline. Don't get me wrong, self-discipline is also a skill in its own right. So, and it helps you to stay focused and stay consistent. You'll understand that most of these things is being consistent and building up the habits and avoiding those scenarios where you tend to procrastinate and you tend to push things off. So I've spoken about procrastination and how it can impact your life in a negative way in most scenarios. So what can we do? What can we do to stop procrastination, stop delaying things in our life, and take charge? There are a couple of fundamental things you can do, and this is not rocket science. So let's say you have a big task and you're not looking forward to, or you just keep pushing it back because either the task is too big, it's too tedious, it's too, it takes a lot of your time to get it done. So one of the techniques you could use is you could actually break that task down into smaller pieces, and you could focus on getting each piece done at a different time frame. If it's you can focus each day to get a part of it done, or every 2-3 hours you get a part of it done if it's something which needs to be done in a hurry. So you break that big task down into smaller chunks, which means that it's more manageable, and you can actually see a start and finish. You decide, what, I'm going to start and I'm going to do this for like 15 minutes today, and I'm going to move on and do something else. So that is one technique which you can use. The other one is you can set self-imposed deadlines. So if you know a task or you need to do something which has to be completed in 2 weeks' time, you can put a deadline for yourself to finish it maybe a couple of days before, maybe 2-3 days before. So this is almost like a self-imposed. So it is a self-imposed deadline, which you create an urgency for it yourself. So in most cases, when you see that deadline, you tend to work towards it, and then you'll actually finish the task a day or two ahead of that actual deadline. You can also use different time management techniques. So you can create to-do lists for yourself. So maybe you can have a daily to-do list. In that list you could have tasks, and you could prioritize it by importance, right? You could always do things like where you block a certain period of time in your day. Let's say from 7 to 8 in the morning, I'm just going to focus on my core tasks. And that could be personal. And if it's work, you might have like a time block where between, let's say, 10 to 12, I'm not going to get into any meetings, or I'm not going to get distracted, and I'm just going to focus on getting this work done. So, those techniques tend to be very effective. I personally myself tend to use to-do lists. So what I do is each day in the morning, I get up and I look through what needs to be done, both, from a personal as well as my work-related stuff. And I kind of come up with a list like, all right, my personal stuff, these are the top things I'm going to get done within today. And my professional work, this is what I'm aiming to get done today, right? So by blocking time, having to-do lists and things like that, you can actually have that focus time to actually get that work done. And it is pretty effective. It's worked pretty well for me. I just have a whiteboard. I call it the commit for the day. So anything in that whiteboard, I have to get done. That's like a personal commitment to myself. Like anything I list there, I will get it done within the day, right? So The other important thing is that you need to eliminate distractions. The biggest problem, and I've spoken about this in some of my other podcast episodes as well, the biggest problem people have right now is distractions. There's so many distractions out there. Your social media, your emails. There's just too many things going on where you're getting dinged by different platforms saying, "Hey, look at this. Hey, look at that." There's so many things in the world, and especially in the digital world, which is just trying to get your attention, right? So, if you remember the story I spoke about, that person going to work and, just seeing the phone ding, looking at the phone and getting distracted. And before you know it, 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes of your day is gone and you've just been aimlessly scrolling and looking at videos, which might add value to your life and which might not add value to your life, right? So, and to get that dopamine hit in your brain. So we need to avoid the distractions. There's nothing wrong with social media and all these things, but you have to have a set time. The way I overcome it is I either have a set time during the day, like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, just to go through my socials and make sure that's that I'm up to date, or I actually turn off all the notifications. What I've done in my personal device is I've actually turned off all notifications, so I don't get pinged and dinged and distracted all the time. So that really helps, especially when the phone is not lighting up and buzzing and sending alarms. It really helps you focus and not get distracted, because distraction is a key element which really is a really top contributor to procrastination. So it is something which we need to really focus and eliminate from our lives. And also, you have to understand that nobody's perfect. Like if you there are times when I procrastinate and I still struggle with it time to time. So you need to understand that nobody's perfect, and that there are times where you will fail in this task to actually become more proactive and making sure that want to get things done. Sometimes you get setbacks, you get delays, you might fall sick. There's all these other things which can happen, right? So you need to, don't get frustrated and don't get upset that, oh, I missed one day and I started procrastinating again. Because if you don't understand that sometimes mistakes happen and sometimes these things, life gets in the way, like you'll just go into this whole depression cycle, or you get frustrated and you might just go back to your old habits, right? So thinking that it's not going to work. So it's important to understand that there's always going to be setbacks, there's always going to be delays, but the important thing is you keep, just because you have a setback one day doesn't mean you give up for the rest of it. You just keep at it, you go to the next day and you start focusing back, right? So have that understanding, and don't judge yourself thinking that just because you miss 1 or 2 days or whatever, or what, I'm not good at this, so I'm going to go back to my old ways, right? So yeah, I think I've covered off everything I wanted to cover off today around procrastination. So understand that it's important. Like, it does have a very negative impact in your life, and it can impact your life professionally, personally, relationships, all those other aspects. So you need to take charge. You need to use some of the tools I spoke about and turn this thing around, right? And anybody can, as soon as you become proactive and you start doing things, you'll start seeing results in your life, and those results will be more for the positive. It'll give you a positive impact in your life, in your relationships, in your career. You'll be able to grab more opportunities which come your way. So there's a lot of upside to actually being proactive and doing things, getting things done when they need to be done on the day, right, without delay. So thank you for listening to this episode. I hope you enjoyed this topic today, and if you like the content you see, please do subscribe to my YouTube channel, which helps me to keep and also motivates me to keep bringing more content like this to you as well. I'm also on Instagram and TikTok. My handle is @motivated.unleashed. Please do follow me there as well. Thank you very much, and hope you all have a great day. And remember, always stay motivated, stay positive, and unleash the power of your mind. Have a great day, everyone.